Hey YouTube. Today I want to review for you the Roadhouse by Emerson Knives Incorporated. So I mentioned in my account update a couple days ago that I have a different opinion than most on the Roadhouse. So on the forums and on YouTube, people love it, they rave about it. I'm not so excited as most are. I enjoy the knife, but I think it has a limited role, at least in my opinion. It has a limited EDC abilities. So like all of Ernie's knives, the Roadhouse was designed as a fighting knife. And specifically, it mimics the CF10 Rogue Warrior fixed blade. You can do an internet search for the CF10 Rogue Warrior, and you'll see that it is the big brother to the Roadhouse. And it has the same lines, same blade shape. The handle's a little bit different. So we can see here in the Roadhouse handle, it has a 2+2, whereas the Roadhouse I think is all one here. So it has the index guard, and I think it all has just a one straight shot across, more similar to the CQC8. But the handle is very comfortable. I can't knock the handle in any way, shape, or form. There's a palm swell right here, which comes up to meet the handle, or meet with your hand comfortably. And the 2+2 is always is one of my favorite designs. Ernie's done it in the 15, the CQC 15 that is, and some other makers make a 2+2 handles that I really enjoy. And then the guard and the thumb ramp really lock in your hand from sliding forward. And like most of Ernie's knives, it's ergonomically correct in a multitude of positions. So the handle is great, and I think it's, as far as Ernie's handles go, they're all wonderful, and I think this is right up there with some of his top designs, including this CQC8. So a lot of people see similarities between the 8 and the Roadhouse. So I'll show you now a Horseman, which has been modified by Ferk. So, you know, it's a frame lock, and there's a bunch of other modifications, but the shape is the same. And what we see here is the index guard and that index choil, and the thumb ramp, which we see here on as far as the wave goes, the thumb ramp there, and then a rather neutral handles for the rest of your fingers. But there's a big difference between the Roadhouse and the 8, in my opinion. And that's usefulness as an EDC knife. So let's talk about the 8 real fast. Again, this is the Horseman, so it's a mini CQC8. But a good friend of mine once said that the CQC8 is a great tactical knife that happens to be a good EDC knife. And I think he's entirely accurate. All Arnie's knives were designed primarily as fighting knives. And so this isn't the exact design as the first 8, but it's very similar. So what we're looking at here that I think is most important, or most striking, is the location of the tip in relation to the center line of the handle. So what I'm talking about is the imaginary line between the pivot and it'd be a point that's in between the lanyard hole and this screw. So I'm thinking it's right above the lanyard hole. So it's the center line of the handle. And if we imagine that center line, then the tip of the blade is just above the center line, not by much. And this allows you to have a good idea of where the tip is in relation to the rest of the knife. And when it's in your hand, you have a good, almost innate feeling of where the tip should be. And because it has a large sweep, it makes it good for EDC chores. Comparison with some other EDC knives, we'll look at the Delica, which is one of the most popular in the $50 range. We see here that the center line would be between this pivot and this body screw, and that the tip lies right on the center line. And this gives you excellent control of the knife. And again, it allows you to really feel where the tip is in relationship to the rest of the knife. And then as a last comparison, we'll look at the Strider S&G, which kind of competes with the Emerson as far as a hard use folder goes. And again, so the center line would be between the pivot and somewhere around here. And it looks like well, in this case, I think the tip of the blade is actually just below the center line. and therefore it would be a drop point because of that. And this is actually more preferable. Having a tip below the center line is more preferable for me compared to having it above the center line. Now, that's why I don't like the Roadhouse, because this center line of the tip on this knife is much higher than the center line. So the center line for this handle would be pretty much the imaginary line between the pivot and the lanyard hole. Now if we look at the tip is nearly as high as the spine of the handle, which I don't know anything about tactical knife fighting. Maybe that's desirable in that field, but I don't feel comfortable using that as an EDC knife. Additionally, the blade is quite far removed from, I don't know how I say it. It's not far removed, but it just feels, I don't have a good understanding, I don't have a good feeling of where the blade is when I'm holding it, okay? It just doesn't feel, I don't know, it doesn't have that innate ability, like a Delica. It just doesn't feel like part of my hand, you know? I don't have that ability to know exactly where the tip is at all times. So, I think as a fighting knife, somebody could you could get used to that, and that again, it may be actually beneficial in a tactical role. I don't know. I'm not a knife fighting expert, but I'm guessing that it would be beneficial only because Ernie is a world-renowned martial arts expert, and if he designed a knife like this, I presume he did so with a particular purpose. So what I'm trying to say is that as an EDC knife, I don't think this is the best option in the Emerson lineup. For an EDC knife, I would rather have something in the 8 family, or the Commander family, or the 7 family. Something where the tip is more, I don't know, it feels more connected to my hand. Whereas this blade kind of feels just very unnatural. It just doesn't feel the way that I want my knife to feel. So, like I said, my opinion is not going to be popular. I think it's a very comfortable knife. The handle is very comfortable. But I can't really get past that tip being so high, and it's very strange, very foreign to me. Maybe if I gave it more time, then I would get used to it. But this is just a loaner knife, and frankly, I'm not sure that I want to get used to it. You know, I have all these other knives that are just fine the way they are, like the Horseman, which is, you know, just a great knife all around. So that's my review. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them. I'm always interested in hearing what you have to say. And as always, be dressed to play and geared to slaughter. See ya.